Hey everybody, this is Perch. Black Adam is out in theaters, doing okay. Reviews weren't great. Money was good for The Rock. I think this was his first or his highest opening weekend. I think, but some of that has to do with I think some of the films that The Rock stars in. And by the way, highest opening weekend where The Rock is the star. Obviously, he's been part of ensemble films with Fast and the Furious, which did tremendously better, but yeah, nothing to complain about. People generally seem to like it from what I've seen. We had that other note talking about the lack of fan outrage for Hawkman being black, and why wasn't there much fan outrage there? And it's fine, but here's a letter called the True Bait and Switch. Let's get into this. It says, "Hey, Perch by Comics" or some such. Yeah, I'm with you. People started in mail saying, "Hey, Dad," which no, I'm not. I no. Don't like it. Anyway, I had Mel goes. I just had this thought after seeing Black Adam. I know it's a weird thought to have, but here goes. If the idea behind the race swap casting is to make these heroes more accessible to non-white fans, what happens to the kids who supposedly need to see themselves in the comics when they see Atlas or Aldous Hodge as Hawkman, fall in love with that character, only to find out that not only is he white in the comics, but he's been that way since the Great Depression, which is a long ass time. Like it is a long ass time. That's right. Um, I am well. It's been a long ass time, except we may be heading to another Great Depression, in which case it will be right around the corner. So there you go. Works out for everybody. Isn't that nice? Anyway, I'm absolutely not suggesting DC make Hawkman black to match the movie. I'm just pointing out a kind of a big flaw in the logic here. Isn't this the real bait and switch? It feels like Arby's restaurant serving sirloin steak to make the chain more accessible to you, but then you eat at literally any other location and die. That's exactly what that's like. Well done. I'm with you. I thought you were going to go with and the food isn't as good. But you went right to where it belongs, which is you're going to die. Arby's, we have the meats, and when you eat them, you're going to die. Yeah. I also think they need to be required by a lot of it. Meats in quotes. Arby's, we have the meats? Question mark? Yeah. Not a perfect analogy. It's a perfect analogy. As Hawkman is a great character, but I'll assume you catch my drift. Sorry, grift. That's another video. Anyway, I'll assume you catch my drift. Why not make the comics feel accessible by doing what Dwayne McDuffie did and elevate the existing black heroes? I know the answer is because these writers and directors don't read comics. Yeah, I think yes. I hear this a lot, and people ask this a lot. Why don't they just do more with the black characters they have? They have good black characters, quite a few of them actually. And there's never a really great answer other than, well, the white characters are more popular. It's often what you'll hear from people in comics. Well, white characters are more popular, so who's going to go see a Black Lightning movie? Now, you did make a TV series of that, but you did on the cheap on the CW, so I don't even know what that means. But I think that logic is severely flawed. But the white characters are more popular in comics, and yes, that is true for your Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, where lots of people who do not read the comics know who those characters are. But very quickly, I think you fall below the line of the masses don't really know these characters at all. They know Superman, they know Batman, and they know Wonder Woman. They have in their heads a way that those characters look, much like the Little Mermaid, but longer. These characters have looked a certain way for a long, long time. Over in Marvel, it's well, now all the movies are out, so it's different. But pre-movies, people kind of knew Spider-Man was a geeky white dude. Captain America looked like Captain America. The rest, I mean, comic fans know what these characters look like, but forget about the comic fans for a moment. Think about the people who do not read comics, the masses. In order to make a successful movie, you got to hit the masses. The masses being, comic fans. People who read comics are less than 1% of the people you want going to those movies. Those people have no concept of what these characters look like, or largely who is popular. So the argument I give sometimes is they go, well, the white characters are popular. That's why we've got to race swap some of the characters. And I go, but you did a Guardians of the Galaxy movie with Groot and Rocket Raccoon and Gamora, and you got Mantis in there, and that made a lot of money, and people bought Guardians of the Galaxy costumes, and Star Lord was the one they hyped up the most. He was a leader, kind of white dude. But if you're willing to make a movie based on all these completely unpopular characters, because face it, Star Lord, Gamora, Drax, these characters are not popular. Prior to the movie, they were not mass popular. No more than Vixen, Black Lightning. Hell, you could make the argument the Falcon. The Falcon, nobody knew the Falcon outside of comics. Its character didn't really exist. It was not popular. You threw him in a movie, is popular. Right now, I know, forget about that they've made him Cap for a moment. Let's say none of that happened and he's still running around as a Falcon. Let's say you made a Jason Bourne-like movie with the Falcon, as just as the Falcon, same actor, same, Anthony Mackie's in there, same everything. Would it be successful? And the answer is, yeah, absolutely it would be successful. It would definitely make money. Would it make the same kind of money as, Captain Marvel? I don't want to make $1 billion. I don't know. But if it had a good script, had some buzz, it's making $500 million easy. That's a huge win. But maybe an even better example is, again, go back pre-Black Panther. And if you could go and ask the masses out there, hey, do you know the Black Panther? Nobody knows what you're talking about. That character was not popular outside of the comics. Nobody was out there clamoring for a Black Panther movie. And yet, that movie came out, $1 billion. Black character in the comics, black character in the movie. Entire supporting cast, by and large, other than the agent, who's black. Villain, black. People liked him. People like the villain. People like the hero. Like, you could absolutely do this. There are black heroes out there who are not, quote unquote, popular. If you do the movie right, if you got the whole universe structured right, if right now you had a really good Vixen movie, it's still not going to do as well as Black Panther because the MCU has been built up and quite successful and everything else. But if you're doing a Marvel movie right now, you don't need to race swap anyone. You've got enough buzz behind all that. You could take black characters you have, and you could roll out a movie, and people will go and they'll make money. You do not need to go, well, imagine, just think about this logic for a moment. We can't do a Rage movie with the character Rage because nobody knows who Rage is. That's absurd. That just makes no sense whatsoever. So what we're going to do is a Colleen Wing movie, but we're going to make her black because we do need more representation. So we're going to do a Colleen Wing movie. Of course, Colleen Wing, one of the most popular superheroes of all time. We're definitely going to put her out in a movie, but in order to be fair and get diversity in there, we're going to go ahead and make her black. But what does that cause other issues? Who cares? We're going to make her black for diversity because Colleen Wing is popular, and it's a shame that in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s they didn't focus on black heroes who got super popular. Otherwise, we just make those characters like Rage. Didn't make Rage popular, so you can't make a Rage movie, but we'll make that Colleen. Does that hurt your head? That's the kind of logic that's being used here. It makes no sense. The other thing you mentioned in mail that I think is true is you can't go back and you can't change the past. Now, I think that's one of the reasons why you hear people from Dan Didio and certainly several editors at Marvel and some of the writers who talk about, screw the past, basically. That the older comics, getting real. Didio got very upset with the idea of we're selling these facsimile editions, we're selling these older editions, and they're outselling some of the new stuff, and that makes me mad. Whereas anyone with a brain at all would go, money? I make money? Money good. I take money. That's the correct answer. But if you do decide to race swap character, you race swap Hawkman, and then people like Hawkman, and what's not to like? The character's a badass. You go in there, you watch that movie, you're like, fuck, I like this guy. Got wings and a little club there, and yeah, I like this character. And then you go there, and to your point, The argument is often we need diversity in the movies because then, black children can see themselves in the characters and it gets them excited, feels like they're represented. Okay, cool. What do parents like to do? Well, they want their kids to read. So, their kids won't read in school or, is pissed off. And so, but comics will do it. So you go down to the comic shop. You're like, oh, you like that Hawkman character? Well, let's get you some comics. Oh, shit, they're all white. And they've been white forever. And even if we race swap them in the comics, we have to basically send a message to say, please ignore the last 80 years. I mean, that won't work. That's history. You got to live with it. You can be pissed off at it. You can try and do better in the future. There's a million different things you can do with history, but you can't just pretend it never existed. That's absurd. And so here we are with, it would have exactly the effect you say. It would defeat the whole thing. But what's tragic about that is that there are black characters in comics that have existed for decades and decades that you could very easily point the kids to. So again, you might say, well, yeah, but Black Adam was tied to the Justice Society. And so, we can't put, you can't put Black Lightning or Vixen in the Justice Society. That's not how it existed in the comics. Who cares? Again, as a comic reader, as somebody who's collected comics, sold comics, yeah, I'd like to see the Justice Society, represented accurately to their comic counterparts. However, if the goal is to increase diversity, representation, other things in the comics, then just put Vixen in the fucking team. Put Black Lightning on the team. And then, be smart about it, and then go out and then make yourself a, Black Lightning trade in time for the movie, so the kids coming in who want to see themselves in the character get to watch this badass in the movie, then go to the comic shop, bookshop, wherever, pick up a Black Lightning trade where the character is a badass. Problem solved. The end. And then make some new black characters. Absolutely. But do recognize, Marvel, DC, you have quite a lot. Do you have more white characters? Yes. Hands down, yes. No doubt about it. Nobody's arguing that point. But before we run off and say, and do the race swap, which is, as the letter writer identified, is true, is going to cause you problems when invariably people go and try and look up the character. Even if you change the character's race, or you do this convoluted thing like they did to Nick Fury to make him, Nick Fury look like Samuel Jackson, it's perfectly welcome to do that. But that's not going to help. If you get a person who falls in love with Nick Fury, all you can sell them is the new books. That's it. You've got none of the back library if the person reading it cares about that thing. Cares about that. And I'm not sure they do care either. But the whole thing topples like a big house of cards very, very quickly. And I have no way of knowing, but my suspicion is if you're somebody who really wants to see yourself represented on the big screen, you want to see your race there, and then you really love the character, and you go to read the comics, and you discover that the entire history of comics, the character was a different race. I think that pisses you off. It's not just, I didn't realize it was done differently. Well, good for the movie studios for increasing diversity. I think instead it kind of rubs it in your face that no, comics haven't had that. And then, not being a comic reader, you wouldn't know it, but the kind of aggravating part is if you did come to realize that there were tons of black characters in the comics that, have existed for a long time, been cool and everything else, but the movie studios kind of ignored those. Fuck those people. I mean, do you see what I mean? It's a goofy aspect of all this. Anyway, thank you very much for the mail. I think it's a good point. And, I don't know why people do it this way. Anyway, thanks for listening.